Hello dear student, welcome all once again in my channel English tutorial with Ratna. So as you know that in my previous video for class 8 I explained the some paragraphs of chapter A Visit to Cambridge, which is written by an Indian writer Firdaus Kanga, who was a differently abled person. You know, he was born with brittle bones and was a disabled person on wheelchair. Okay, so during his one of the walking tour in England, okay, he happened to meet with Stephan Hawkins, and this left on him an indomitable impression he could never forget, and after that moment his life changed completely. So this is what he said, that what conversation he had with Stephan Hawkins and what he answered. So next question that he asked from Stephan Hawkins, that a lot of people seem to think that disabled people are chronically unhappy. I said, I know that's not true myself. Are you often laughing inside? About 3 minutes later, he responded, I find it amusing when people patronize me. So, next question that author asked, I have seen many a time that people think about disabled people that they are unhappy people, nothing can make them happy, they are always, or you can say constantly sad and miserable. So what Stephan Hawkins had to say about this? Author asked about it. Okay, in fact, according to author, it was not right. This opinion of people is not right, that disabled people are always unhappy. And he even asked Stephan Hawkins that does he ever laugh inside? So after 3 minutes later, the answer came to the author, and what answer Stephan Hawkins gave him, that he did not like much when people patronize him. In fact, he said that he finds it entertaining when people are only kind to him because of his different abilities. He did not like this. The author further asked if he feels irritated when, okay, then next let me read the next stanza. So here he says, and do you find it annoying when someone like me comes and disturb you in your work? So what the next question the author asked, he further asked him if he feels irritated when people like him come and keep him away from his work, to which he answered firm yes. Okay, and what he answered, he said yes. Okay, then he smiled his one-way smile, and I knew without being sentimental or silly that I was looking at one of the most beautiful men in the world. Okay, and saying yes, Stephan Hawkins smiled his one-way smile, not giving in the emotion, but the author knew for sure that he was looking at one of the most beautiful and wonderful men in the world. And author is saying when he could see Stephan Hawking smiling in his one-way smile, he could see in him one of the most beautiful figure in this world, and he is not saying this just because of any emotion. In fact, he is sure that he was looking very beautiful, or you can say a wonderful thing at that time when he smiled. Okay, next paragraph. At first glimpse of him is shocking, because he is like a still photograph, as if all those pictures of him in magazines and newspaper have turned three-dimensional. Then you see the head twisted sideways into a slump legs. You look at his eyes, which are straight, still, and they are saying something huge and urgent. It's hard to tell what, but you are shaken because you have seen something you never thought could be seen. And now author is mentioning that how did he feel when he saw Stephan Hawking the first time. author says that the first glance of Hawkins startled, it amazed him because he is motionless, just as a photograph. It seems that all his photos in magazines and newspapers have become three-dimensional, but all are still. He looks like a photograph. He looks as still as in a photograph. As you notice him further, when you will see him for some more time, for a longer duration, if you see him, what you can feel that his head is turned sideways limply. Okay, limply means lifelessly. Okay, like it has no life. Okay, but the other part of the body is shrunk means it's very congested. Okay, inside his dull blue shirt and legs weak. His eyes appear as if they can speak. They are still urgent, but his eyes looks very bright, and it looks very active and bright, as if it always want to say something. Okay, yet trying to speak something. When you see at him, when you see at towards his eyes, you can feel that his eyes are trying to speak something great, significant, and urgent, although what they are saying is hard to decipher. But what he tries to say in his word, it is very hard to decipher, means to understand what is he saying to what is he trying to say, because those things are very urgent and very important also. But his body is so inactive, he that did not let him to speak properly, to communicate properly. Having looked at him, okay, now before when you look at him, you can see that before you, like a lantern whose walls are worn so thin you glimpse only the light inside, is the incandescence of a man. The body, almost irrelevant, exists only like a case made of shadows. So that I, no believer in eternal souls, know that this is what each of us is. Everything else is an accessory. A very important quote that always inspires me. Yes, dear student, if we give importance to our body a lot in our life, but what is important in us, what is significant in us, that is our soul. So how is our soul? How bright, how kind, and which kind of soul you possess, that means, and that shapes your personality. That is the only thing important in you. Otherwise everything else is just an accessory, according to the writer Firdaus Kanga. He's saying that when you look at Stephan Hawkins, you can feel that he looks like a lantern, okay, whose walls, and he looks like such a lantern, okay. When you see at him, it appears as if he's like a lantern whose walls are so worn, it has become so old and thin that you only see the light inside. So the walls look so thin that you can see the light inside, okay, in it. So when you look at Stephan Hawkins, it seems that his body has become transparent, and what is his soul that is hidden inside his body, you can see it very clearly, as if his body is transparent, okay, like a glass. And yes, before you, in the inner glow of a man, it makes you feel that the body is irrelevant and exists only like a case made of shadows, okay. After seeing him, in fact, narrator saying that he was earlier not a believer in eternal sound, but after meeting at Stephan Hawkins, now he has felt that in our body nothing is important, only our soul is important, and that is the significant thing in us. It even makes the author, who was not a non-believer soul, realizes that a man is no more than that. Everything else in our body is just an essential, okay. Moving further, what do you think is the best thing about being disabled? He asked him earlier. Okay. So, what next question author asked Stephen Hawkins that according to Stephen Hawking, what is the best thing about being disabled? And what he replied, he said, I don't think there is anything good about being disabled. Then narrator said that, but he think that there is something important if you are a disabled. And what is the advantage of being disabled according to the author? He said that because you can discover how much kindness there in the world. If you are a disabled person, then you can very well discover, you can come to know, you can find out that how much kindness is there in this world. Okay. Yes, he said. And at this point, Stephen Hawking also agreed with the narrator. He said yes, it was a disadvantage of his voice synthesizer that he could not convey no inflection, no shades or tone, and I could not tell how enthusiastically he agreed with me. Now, narrator is adding one thing to here. When Stephen Hawking said yes, on agreeing to the point with the narrator that yes, there is one advantage. Okay. So in his yes, it was the disadvantage of the voice synthesizer, because Stephen Hawking used to communicate with that only, in that way only, so he could not show the enthusiasm of human voice tone. Okay. That how enthusiastically he would agree with the narrator, he could not express that thing with him. Every time I shifted in my chair or turned my wrist towards the time, I wanted to make every one of our 30 minutes count. I felt a huge relief and exhilaration in the possibilities of my body. How little mattered then that I would never walk or even stand. As I already told you that according to the narrator, what is the only thing that gives relief to the disabled person is what? Just to see a person, other disabled person like you achieving something great, getting something great. Because when you find someone disabled like you getting something great, you also feel that there are many possibilities for you too to get such things. And narrator also felt, seeing Stephen Hawking, narrator also felt that yes, there are many possibilities beyond imagination. There are many possibilities for narrator too to achieve great things in his life, because best example of being disabled and achieving greatest thing in the world is who? Stephen Hawkins. Okay. And he is saying, narrator is saying that every time whenever when he was talking to Stephen Hawking or asking any question, he used to look at his watch, at his wrist watch, because he was given an appointment for half an hour, and he want to utilize every moment of that half an hour, because it was a meeting with such a prominent person, Stephen Hawking. So he utilized to know the answer of many of the questions that was there in his mind. Let's proceed. I told him how he had been an inspiration beyond click for me, and surely for others did that thought help him. No, he said. I thought how foolish I was to ask. When your body is claustrophobic room and the walls are growing narrower day by day, it doesn't do much good to know that there are people outside smiling with admiration to see you breathing still. Okay. Now, author said to Stephen Hawking that he had always been a great inspiration for the author, because being leading such a life, such a great life, such a achievable life, he had always remain a very source of inspiration for the author. And in fact, author is sure that for other people too in this world, he is a source of inspiration. Okay. So how does he feel about it, that he is inspiring so many people, okay, in the world? How does Stephen Hawking feels about this? This is what author asked next to him. And then Stephen Hawking said no, he doesn't feel that he the source of inspiration for anyone. And once Stephen Hawking said no to this, author realized his mistake, that it was very wrong for him to say such a thing for him, because a person who is leading such a life, whose soul is so great and whose brain is filled with so intense thought, still his body is like a claustrophobic room, who is continuously pressing his soul. Okay, his body is getting narrower day by day. Okay, so when you are leading such a life, closed in such a claustrophobic room, whose walls have become so thin, and you are not able to breathe properly, well, then I don't the narrator said that it doesn't matter for such kind of person a lot, that the people outside are standing there in appreciation for you. Okay, is there any advice you can give disabled people, something that might help make life better? At the end, narrator asked Stephen Hawkins that whether he wanted to give any advice to disabled people, and what Stephen Hawkins said, they should concentrate on what they are good at. I think things like the disabled Olympics are waste of time. And in reply to this question, Stephen Hawking said that only one advice he could give to the disabled person, that they should concentrate on only those things they are good in. And according to Stephen Hawking, it's not a good idea for to think about any disabled Olympic. Okay, because it will only be a waste of time. I know what you mean. I remember the years I had spent trying to play a Spanish guitar considerably larger than I was, and how gleefully I had unstringed it one night. Okay, and when Stephen Hawking told about this, he was completely, narrator was completely agreeing with him, because he had also experienced such kind of thing in his life. He was very fond of learning guitar, and that's why he kept a guitar with him to learn from it, and that guitar was larger in size even than him too. And ultimately he could not learn that guitar, and one night he unstringed one of its string. Okay, so he left it. So he completely agree with Stephen Hawking on this point. Okay, yes, half an hour was up, and I think I have annoyed you enough, I said, grinning. Thank you for. Okay, now when half an hour was over, the writer said to Stephen Hawking that now the time is over, the appointed time for the meeting between us is over, and I am very thankful. Grinning means smiling. Smilingly, author said that he was very happy that he has given time to him for meeting. Stay, I waited. Have some tea, I can show you the garden. Then what Stephen Hawking said, he told the author to wait for some more time, because he wanted to spend some more time with him, and in fact he offered him tea too. He said to him that he would like to show him his garden. The garden was as big as a park, and in fact Stephen Hawking's garden was very big. It was as big as like a park, but Stephen Hawking covered every inch. But along with the narrator, Stephen Hawking covered every inch of that big garden. Okay, that day, rumbling along in his motorized wheelchair while I dozed to keep out of the way. And he was just rumbling in his motorized wheelchair where Stephen Hawking was sitting. So he was rumbling on it, but he covered every inch of that garden. In fact, author would many a time come out of sight from the narrator. Out of the sight from Stephen Hawking. We couldn't talk very much. The sun made him silent. So till the time the sun was not very high, okay, they could communicate because this computer screen was visible. But as soon as the sun rise became very hot, so it made them silent, because Stephen Hawkins can only communicate through the computer. Okay. An hour later, we were ready to leave. Okay, this is how author spent an hour time with him, and after an hour, he was ready to leave. They were ready to depart. Okay, I didn't know what to do, and when it was the moment of departure, our narrator is saying that he did not know what to do at that time. He wanted to kiss him or he wanted to cry, but he did not think of anything, okay, what he should do. He said that I touched his shoulder and reeled out into the summer evening. Okay, and then what he did, he just touched his shoulder and he just through with his wheelchair he just come out into the summer evening. I looked back, and then when he was going away from Stephen Hawkins, he just looked back and said that he knew he was waving. When he looked back toward Stephen Hawkins, he felt that as if Stephen Hawkins was waving, because he could not wave with his hand. It was still, it was motionless, and but his heart, his soul was waving to author. He felt like that. Okay, though he wasn't watching him. An embodiment of my bravest self, the one I was moving towards, the one I had believed in for so many years alone. I knew that my journey was over for now. And now author is saying that at that time when I was watching at him going away from him and was looking back or watching back to him, I was feeling that at that time I was looking towards the embodiment of someone that is the bravest soul on this earth. Okay, and he was so inspired with him, he was so inspired to him with him, that as if he was just feeling that he is moving towards him, and he started believing that his journey, because he has met with Stephen Hawkins and that meeting with him has changed whole of his life, and after that he could feel that his journey was over and meaning of his life has become successful with the meeting with Stephen Hawkins. He has come to know the answer of many of his questions, many of the doubts that he had, and he got the best answer of those questions, those doubts. Okay, so this is how the chapter ends, dear students. I hope you would have enjoyed my explanation. If you have any query, any doubt, you can send it in the comment box. But at the end, I will again make you request, do not forget to subscribe the channel and hit the icon bell so that you can keep on getting the next videos on my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.